Right, so the conduct of Israeli soldiers in Gaza has been one that has upset and angered a lot of people, because it is apparent that their government are encouraging them to post videos of what they're doing on social media. I suppose in their heads they think this will refute the reality of what we're witnessing in videos and the narrative that goes along with those, posted by those on the receiving end of Israeli atrocity, of course, and the destruction, the death, the fear. And a few soldiers think posting selfies to TikTok or some other platform of them breaking toys and laughing as they set off bombs in the distance, levelling yet more Gazan infrastructure, is more entertaining and cuts through more with a Western audience largely kept dumbed down by their own mainstream media. However, the IDF have now been caught behind the scenes of one of the sickest online Israeli influencer channels there ever has been, aimed primarily at their own people, presumably in a bid to win many of them over, appalled at the atrocity they've been witnessing, and people more widely worldwide as that as well. And this is possibly the most damning evidence yet that not only are Israel engaging in genocide, but they're glorifying it. Right, so Israeli soldiers conducting genocide and putting it on social media in and of itself was glorification of what they were doing. However, in those instances, it could be argued that they were acting of their own volition, that they thought this was funny and hilarious, that this wasn't necessarily as a result of any kind of state sanctioning for what they were doing, laughing and joking about the devastation they've been causing for their Zionist audiences to lap up. But the latest revelation to come out actually ties this sense of glorification directly to the Israeli Defense Force itself, and that the IDF's psychological warfare unit have been using social media and aiming it primarily at an Israeli audience in order to influence civilian thinking, but also the thinking of those abroad too. The platform being used by them in this instance was Telegram, not dissimilar to WhatsApp if you're not familiar to it. It's more secure, but also allows people to create and subscribe to channels, sharing one-way updates, and people can also post stories to them similarly to Instagram. But it's one such channel set up by the IDF that has suddenly incriminated them for glorifying what they are doing in Gaza, as they finally admit to having been behind it. They've been denying it, you see, for a little while now. The channel itself was called the not at all on the nose 72 Virgins Uncensored, making fun of Islam, even down to what they call their channel. Islamophobic, you might say, from people who so often play the race card themselves. Not a good look, guys, not smart or clever, but of course it gets so much worse as you come to the actual content. The channel came into existence on October 9th, so just 2 days after the Hamas infiltration of Israel, for which Gaza has been laid siege to for 4 months ever since, and still ongoing. That's really early on, and to my mind I'm thinking, well, doesn't that imply that things were already intended to go on a while longer, that they knew that? Why go to the trouble of setting up a social media account, a channel, for what the world believes was only going to be lasting a few days at most, certainly as we did at that time? Israel having its right to defend itself and all of that, as much of the world believed it had every right to at that point, having just been attacked by Hamas, what we knew that at that time. Obviously we know it a great deal more now, but attacking an occupied people whose land they occupy was notwithstanding either. Now I bring up this point because the IDF are now selling us the point of view that this was unauthorized, unsanctioned, and that it had prompted an internal investigation into this Telegram channel, who set it up, who is responsible, and they've since come back that this was dealt with and hope to draw a line under it. But I really do have a hard time swallowing that pill. How can the IDF not know what their own psychological warfare department's doing? Are they allowed to play on their phones all day and waste time on social media normally, that it wouldn't arouse any suspicion? Hardly professional, is it? Again, there's this nagging feeling at the back of my mind that you don't go out setting up a social media channel, which can be a hassle. There's some work to it, let me tell you. It can take ages to get going to. Boy, can I attest to that one. So you just don't do that. You do this if you only intend to last a few days, maybe a week. You'd get a viewer or two at best in that time. Surely the people behind this knew this assault was going to go on for far longer then, because otherwise, why would you go to so much trouble? There's no avoiding the subject of the content matter either, though for obvious reasons I'm not republishing any of the imagery they put up. It is horrific, it is graphic content, so instead I'm going to quote from the Haaretz article on it, which is the Israeli newspaper that broke this scandal, came from within their own country, and triggered that internal investigation with the IDF. And Haaretz wrote, The channel's administrators posted graphic content such as images of the dead bodies of Hamas terrorists, captioned "Shatter the Terrorists' Fantasy" on a daily basis. On several occasions they posted exclusive material from investigations or information that was only available to the defence establishment at the time, boasting that it was exclusive from Gaza. They uploaded thousands of videos and still images of the killing of terrorists and destruction in the Strip, and encouraged the channel's followers to share the content so that everyone can see we're screwing them. The operators used coarse language in a bid to obscure the IDF's involvement in the channel. An October 11th post read, "Burning their mother. You won't believe the video we got. You can hear their bones crunch. We'll post it right away. Get ready." Photos of Palestinian men captured by the IDF in the Strip and the bodies of terrorists were captioned, "Exterminating the roaches. Exterminating the Hamas rats. Share this beauty." A video of a soldier allegedly dipping machine gun bullets in pork fat is captioned, "What a man. Greases bullets with lard. You won't get your virgins." Another caption was, "Garbage juice, another dead terrorist. You have to watch it with the sound. You'll die laughing." If that isn't glorifying genocide, I don't quite know what does. There aren't words to describe that. How anyone, let alone the IDF itself, could countenance such actions is utterly beyond me. And the people watching and enjoying this content aren't anybody I'd want to be in the near vicinity of. This has to be one of the most horrible stories to have come out of the last 4 months of this atrocity. Certainly one of the worst I've heard. It's bad enough what Israel is doing to people in Gaza, but to revel in it, to celebrate it, and encourage others watching to do likewise is just something I cannot process. I just cannot rationalize that mindset. Is that part of having been raised in the proverbial white bread world of the West, where everything gets watered down and tamed down and neutered? Is that why I struggle with it? Do others get it? Either way, it should shock and appall. News like this should have that effect, so that we don't ever find things like that acceptable, and support for anyone doing that should not be acceptable at all. And as far as Israel's case ongoing at the ICJ goes, this is really damning stuff. Of course, none of this shows an end to the atrocities going on. This is just one more example of how justified all of us wanting an end to the slaughter and Israel to get out of Gaza and for Palestinian state recognition to come about. None of this expose is going to stop more people dying as Israel carries on regardless. But if yet more jurors in the court of public opinion, let's put it, I would hope, turning against them, nobody should be celebrating delivering death and destruction after all, even in war. Surely that should be a given. Do our soldiers come home and cheer about the people they've killed? Because I've never seen any one of them ever do that. I've seen them come home traumatised about it, but not celebrating it. I think this is all the more sobering when you consider Israel have now reached Rafah at the border with Egypt, with 1.9 million people now in the firing line of what they were formerly told was a safe place for them to go, and now quite obviously no longer is. You can find out the details of that in this video here. Perhaps watch it with a view as to the possible mindsets of some of these Israeli soldiers now in the back of your mind having watched this one. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.